The nocturnal theatre, where your mind becomes a storyteller. Welcome, pause for a moment, close your eyes if you can, and think about the last dream you remember. Not the one you can describe perfectly, but that strange, fleeting sensation that dissolves the moment you wake. That peculiar narrative where you were simultaneously yourself and someone else, where gravity worked differently, where time folded in on itself like origami made of light and memory. Have you ever wondered why your brain, the same organ that helps you solve problems and navigate the waking world with logic and reason, transforms into something entirely different when you sleep? Why does it become a storyteller that ignores every rule of physics, causality, and narrative structure? Tonight, we begin a journey into that hidden theater, where your mind performs its most elaborate and mysterious production. Before we begin, I invite you to subscribe to the Relaxing Science channel. Give this video a like and share your location and the time below. Your participation helps us understand where our community stretches across the world and what time our viewers choose to explore these mysteries. This information connects us across geography and time zones, creating a map of curiosity that spans the globe. The brain is perhaps the most extraordinary creation of nature. Within your skull exists approximately 86 billion neurons, each one capable of connecting to thousands of others, creating patterns of electrical and chemical activity so complex that we have only begun to map their territories. When you are awake, these neurons work in concert to create your sense of self, your perception of the world, your decisions and movements and thoughts. But when night falls and you surrender to sleep, something remarkable happens. This organized, hierarchical system of consciousness begins to dissolve, and in its place emerges something that feels almost like a different being entirely. Throughout human history, dreams have held profound significance. Ancient civilizations interpreted them as messages from the gods. Medieval philosophers debated whether dreams were windows into divine truth or corruptions of the soul. Indigenous cultures incorporated dream interpretation into their spiritual practices and healing ceremonies. Even in our modern, scientifically minded era, dreams retain an almost mystical quality. We wake from them feeling moved, confused, inspired, or unsettled, often unable to articulate precisely why. The experience of a dream is fundamentally different from waking consciousness. In dreams, you do not question the impossible. You accept that you can fly, that your childhood home contains rooms you have never seen before, that people you know can transform into other people mid-conversation. The logic of dreams is not the logic of causality and physics. Instead, it is the logic of emotion and association, where one image flows into another, not because it makes sense, but because they are connected through feeling, through memory, through the deep language of the unconscious mind. This nocturnal theater operates according to its own rules, its own physics, its own narrative grammar. It is a space where your deepest fears can be enacted without real danger, where your hidden desires can be explored without social consequence, where your mind can process experiences, work through emotions, and consolidate memories in ways that would be impossible during waking hours. Dreams are not random noise generated by a sleeping brain. They are not meaningless static. They are, in fact, one of the most sophisticated cognitive processes your brain undertakes. Consider the sheer creativity involved in dream construction. Your mind generates entire worlds, complete with visual detail, sound, sensation, and emotional tone. It populates these worlds with characters, some familiar and some entirely invented. It creates narratives with tension and resolution. It generates dialogue and internal monologue. It produces emotional responses that feel entirely real in the moment. All of this happens automatically, without conscious direction, while you lie still in darkness. The ancient Greeks had a goddess named Morpheus, god of dreams, son of Hypnos, the god of sleep. The very fact that cultures across the world created deities specifically to govern dreams speaks to their power and mystery. Dreams occupied a special place in human consciousness, not quite understood but deeply respected. They were treated as significant events, as experiences worthy of attention and interpretation. This sense of significance persists today. People still wake from vivid dreams and carry them through their day, unable to shake the emotional residue. A dream can inspire an artist, haunt a scientist, or provide unexpected perspective on a waking problem. The boundaries between dream and waking consciousness are far more permeable than we often assume. The experiences we have in sleep shape how we think, feel, and act during the day. As we embark on this exploration, we are asking fundamental questions about what consciousness is, how memory works, what emotions really are, and what role sleep and dreams play in making us human. We are peering into the nocturnal theater of your mind, trying to understand the invisible mechanisms that generate these extraordinary narratives. We are seeking to illuminate the darkness, not to destroy its mystery, but to deepen our appreciation for it. Your brain in sleep is not resting. It is not idle or dormant. It is engaged in work that is essential to your survival, your health, your creativity, and your psychological well-being. The dreams you experience are not byproducts of this work. They are expressions of it. They are the visible manifestation of processes happening in the depths of your neural architecture. They are messages from your own mind to yourself, written in the language of imagery, emotion, and narrative. This journey we are beginning tonight is an invitation to understand yourself more deeply, to recognize that the strange experiences you have in sleep are not random or meaningless, but rather expressions of how your brain processes the world, to appreciate the creativity and sophistication of your mind, even when it seems to be behaving in ways that defy logic, to find peace in the mystery and wisdom in the darkness. The nocturnal theater is always open. Every night your mind prepares the stage, gathers the players, and begins the performance. And you, the dreamer, sit in the audience, watching stories unfold that you yourself are creating, yet which often surprise you. This is the paradox of dreams. You are both author and audience, creator and observer, the one who dreams and the one who is dreamed. The science of REM sleep. When your brain ignites. As night deepens and you drift further into sleep, your body enters a state that seems paradoxical. Your muscles become paralyzed. You cannot move, cannot speak, cannot respond to external stimuli. Yet simultaneously, your brain becomes more active than it is during much of your waking day. Your eyes move rapidly beneath closed lids, darting back and forth in jerky, purposeful movements. Your heart rate increases. Your body temperature fluctuates. Your brain waves shift into a pattern that resembles waking consciousness, more than it resembles the deep sleep of earlier in the night. This is REM sleep. The acronym stands for Rapid Eye Movement, named for the most obvious external sign of this stage. But REM is far more than just eyes moving. It is a complete transformation of how your brain operates. It is the stage during which the vast majority of your vivid, narrative dreams occur. It is also one of the most intensively studied phenomena in neuroscience, and yet it remains deeply mysterious. The journey to REM sleep begins when you first close your eyes at night. You do not immediately enter REM. Instead, you descend through stages of progressively deeper non-REM sleep. This descent is like slowly sinking through layers of water, moving from the surface where you can still hear sounds and sense movement, down into deeper darkness where external stimuli fade away and your awareness turns inward. In the first stage of sleep, sometimes called light sleep, you are easily awakened. Your brain waves slow from the rapid beta waves of waking consciousness into slower alpha and theta waves. Your muscles relax. Your breathing becomes more regular. You might experience hypnagogic imagery, those strange fragmentary visions that sometimes appear as you are falling asleep. These are not yet true dreams, but rather the brain's transitional experience between wakefulness and sleep. As sleep deepens, you enter stage 2 sleep, characterized by the appearance of sleep spindles, brief bursts of brainwave activity that seem to serve an important function in memory consolidation. Your body temperature drops slightly. Your heart rate slows. You become less responsive to sounds and movements in your environment. This is still a relatively light stage of sleep, but it is deeper than stage 1. Then comes stage 3, often called deep sleep or slow wave sleep. In this stage, your brain produces large, slow delta waves. Your body is profoundly relaxed. Your blood pressure drops. Your breathing slows. This is the stage in which your body does much of its physical restoration and repair. It is the stage in which growth hormone is released, supporting physical growth and the repair of damaged tissues. If you are sleep deprived and finally get a chance to sleep deeply, your body will spend more time in this deep sleep stage, as if trying to catch up on essential physical restoration. You do not go directly from wakefulness to REM sleep. Instead, you cycle through these non-REM stages, spending perhaps 90 minutes in the initial descent through light sleep, stage 2, and deep sleep. Then something shifts. The brain begins to transition. The slow delta waves diminish. Brain activity increases. The thalamus, a relay station deep in the brain that filters sensory information, begins to change how it processes incoming signals. The pattern of neural firing shifts from the organized, hierarchical patterns of non-REM sleep into something more chaotic and widespread. And then you enter REM. The change is dramatic. Your eyes begin to move. Your brain waves speed up, becoming similar to waking patterns. Your core body temperature rises slightly. Your heart rate increases. Blood pressure rises. Certain neurotransmitters are suppressed while others become dominant. The brain regions involved in emotion, memory, and visual processing become highly active. The regions involved in logic, rational thought, and self-awareness become relatively quiet. This is the stage in which dreams most commonly occur. Not exclusively, but predominantly. You can have brief dream-like experiences in other stages of sleep, but the vivid, elaborate narrative dreams that you remember most clearly almost always happen during REM. This stage typically lasts about 20 to 30 minutes in the first REM period of the night, but as the night progresses, REM periods become longer and more frequent. By the end of the night, you might be spending 40 minutes or more in a single REM period. One of the most fascinating aspects of REM sleep is the phenomenon called REM atonia, the muscle paralysis that occurs during this stage. Most of your voluntary muscles, the muscles you use to move and control your body, become essentially paralyzed. This paralysis is so complete that you cannot move, even if you wanted to. The only muscles that remain active are your eyes, your diaphragm that controls breathing, and certain other involuntary muscles. This paralysis appears to serve an important protective function. If you acted out your dreams, if your body responded to the commands your brain was generating during REM, you could injure yourself. Imagine if, during a dream in which you were running from danger, your legs actually ran. If you were falling in a dream and your body actually tried to catch itself, you might fall out of bed or strike yourself. The paralysis of REM sleep prevents you from physically enacting the scenarios your brain is generating. It creates a safe space in which your mind can explore experiences and emotions without the risk of physical harm. The chemistry of REM sleep is equally remarkable. During REM, the neurotransmitter norepinephrine is essentially shut off. This neurotransmitter is important for maintaining logical thought, for evaluating information critically, for maintaining a sense of self and agency. Its absence during REM helps explain why dreams feel so strange, why they do not follow logical rules, why you accept impossible scenarios without question. You are operating without the neurochemical foundation that supports critical thinking. Simultaneously, the neurotransmitter acetylcholine becomes dominant in REM sleep. This neurotransmitter is involved in attention, memory formation, and the generation of visual and emotional imagery. High levels of acetylcholine combined with low levels of norepinephrine create a brain state that is optimized for generating vivid, emotionally intense imagery without the constraint of logical evaluation. Another crucial neurotransmitter, serotonin, is also dramatically reduced during REM sleep. Serotonin is involved in mood regulation and the sense of self. Its reduction during REM contributes to the strange quality of dream consciousness, the way you can be yourself and someone else simultaneously, the way your sense of identity can shift and transform. The result of these neurochemical changes is a brain state that is fundamentally different from waking consciousness. It is a state optimized not for analyzing external reality and making logical decisions, but for generating internal imagery, exploring emotional scenarios, and processing experiences in ways that would be impossible in waking consciousness. It is a state that allows your brain to do work that cannot be done while you are awake. This work is not trivial. REM sleep appears to be essential for psychological health, for emotional regulation, for memory consolidation, for creative thinking, and for psychological development. People who are deprived of REM sleep begin to show signs of psychological distress within days. They become irritable, anxious, and emotionally unstable. Their cognitive function declines. They begin to experience hallucinations. This suggests that REM sleep and the dreams that occur during it serve functions that are absolutely essential to human well-being. The brain's ignition during REM sleep is not a malfunction or a glitch. It is not the brain running in idle, generating meaningless noise. It is a sophisticated, organized state in which specific regions are activated in specific sequences, generating experiences that serve important psychological and neurological functions. Understanding REM sleep is to understand one of the most important biological processes that keep you alive and healthy and human. Memory weaving. How yesterday becomes tonight's story. Every experience you have leaves traces in your brain. These traces are not permanent or unchanging. They are fragile, malleable things that must be actively maintained and consolidated to become long-term memories. This process of consolidation happens largely during sleep, and particularly during REM sleep. The dreams you experience are, in a sense, a window into this process of memory weaving. The way your brain takes the raw material of your daily experiences and integrates them into the fabric of your knowledge and identity. Consider the vast amount of information your brain processes during a single day. You see thousands of images, hear countless sounds, experience numerous physical sensations, have countless thoughts and conversations. You learn new information, encounter new people, have new experiences. Some of this information is important and worth remembering. Much of it is trivial and should be forgotten. Your brain's challenge is to distinguish between what matters and what does not, and to consolidate the important information into long-term memory while allowing the trivial details to fade away. This is not a simple process. It is not as if your brain simply records experiences like a video camera, capturing everything faithfully. Memory is constructive. It is selective. It is shaped by emotion, by attention, by prior knowledge and expectations. When you experience something, your brain does not create a complete, accurate recording. Instead, it creates a sparse representation, a skeleton of the experience that captures key details, but omits much of the sensory information. During waking hours, your brain is focused on processing current experience. You are attending to what is happening right now, responding to immediate challenges, making decisions, interacting with the world. Memory consolidation happens, but it is not the primary focus of your conscious attention. Your brain must balance the need to process current information with the need to consolidate and organize past information. This balance is imperfect. Many experiences fade away without being properly consolidated into long-term memory. But when you sleep, particularly when you enter REM sleep, your brain can focus entirely on this process of consolidation. With no external stimuli demanding attention, with no immediate decisions requiring your conscious thought, your brain can devote its full resources to the work of integration and organization. It can review the experiences of the day, connect them to existing memories, and weave them into the larger patterns of knowledge and understanding that constitute your autobiographical memory. The dreams you experience during REM sleep are not random. They are, in a very real sense, the visible expression of this memory consolidation process. Your brain is replaying experiences, extracting key information, connecting new experiences to old ones, and reorganizing your mental models of the world. The strange, surreal quality of dreams arises because this process is happening without the constraint of logical evaluation. Your brain is making connections based on emotional resonance, on similarity of feeling or imagery, on thematic relationships, rather than on logical or causal relationships. Think about a typical dream. You are in a place that is familiar and unfamiliar simultaneously. It might be your childhood home, but it contains rooms and spaces that did not exist in the actual house. People you know appear in the dream, but they are subtly different, or they transform into other people. Events unfold in a sequence that defies logic. You might be in one place and then, without transition, in another place entirely. These strange transformations and juxtapositions are not errors or glitches in the dream process. They are the expression of how your brain is connecting and reorganizing information. The emotional quality of your dreams is also significant. Dreams often have a strong emotional tone. You might dream of situations that provoke anxiety, sadness, joy, or excitement. These emotions are not arbitrary. They are connected to the emotional significance of the events and experiences being processed. Your brain is not just consolidating factual information about the day, it is also processing the emotional meaning and significance of experiences. This is particularly important for experiences that have strong emotional content. If you have experienced something traumatic, something joyful, something that provoked strong emotion, your brain will work intensively during REM sleep to process and integrate this experience. The dreams that result might be directly related to the experience, or they might be more symbolic, using dream imagery to represent the emotional significance of what you experienced. Memory consolidation during REM sleep is not limited to short-term memories from the day before. It is also involved in the long-term reorganization of existing memories. Your brain is constantly revising and updating your understanding of the world based on new information and experiences. During REM sleep, your brain can make these revisions and updates, integrating new information into existing knowledge structures. This process is crucial for learning. When you learn something new, when you acquire a new skill or understand a new concept, this learning is not complete immediately. It requires consolidation during sleep. Students who study and then get a good night's sleep perform better on tests than students who study and stay awake. Musicians who practice and then sleep perform better when they are tested later than musicians who practice and then stay awake. This is not just because sleep allows the brain to rest. It is because sleep, particularly REM sleep, allows the brain to consolidate new learning into long-term memory. The phenomenon of memory reconsolidation is also important to understand. When you recall a memory, the memory becomes temporarily unstable. It is in a state where it can be modified or updated. As you recall the memory, you are essentially re-experiencing it, and new information can be integrated into the memory. Then, the memory must be reconsolidated, integrated back into long-term storage. This reconsolidation happens during sleep. This means that every time you recall a memory, you are potentially changing it. You are not retrieving a static, unchanging recording. You are retrieving and re-experiencing a dynamic representation that can be modified and updated. And then, during sleep, this updated representation is reconsolidated into long-term memory. Over time, memories can change, not because you are intentionally trying to distort them, but because this is how memory naturally works. Dreams might be involved in this process of memory reconsolidation. As your brain is replaying experiences and consolidating memories during REM sleep, it is also potentially revising and updating these memories. New connections are being made between old memories and new experiences. The emotional significance of memories might be shifting as they are integrated into new contexts. Your sense of self and your understanding of your life history are being continuously revised and updated based on current experience. This is why dreams often seem to mix elements from different times and places. Your brain is not just processing today's experiences, it is integrating them into the larger tapestry of your life, connecting them to memories from the past, revising your understanding of your life narrative in light of new information. The dream is a window into this integrative process, the way your brain is weaving the threads of your experience into a coherent whole. The work of memory consolidation during REM sleep is essential for learning, for psychological development, and for the maintenance of a coherent sense of self. Without this process, you would not be able to learn effectively. You would not be able to integrate new experiences into your understanding of yourself and the world. Your sense of self would be fragmented and unstable. This is why sleep deprivation has such profound effects on cognition and emotional well-being. You are not just depriving your brain of rest, you are interfering with the essential process of memory consolidation that keeps your mind functioning properly. Emotions in motion, the hidden language of dreams. Emotions are not thoughts. They are not ideas or concepts. They are states of the body and mind that arise in response to situations, memories, and mental imagery. They are characterized by changes in heart rate, Breathing, muscle tension, hormone release, and patterns of neural activation. They are felt as sensations in the body and as moods that color your perception and cognition, and they are absolutely central to the experience of dreaming. During waking hours, emotions are regulated by rational thought. When you feel anxious, you can think about whether your anxiety is justified by the actual situation. You can use logic and reason to modulate your emotional response. When you feel angry, you can choose not to act on that anger. When you feel sad, you can remind yourself that feelings are temporary and that things will improve. Rational thought acts as a brake on emotional experience, allowing you to feel emotions while still maintaining control over your actions and thoughts. But during REM sleep, this rational regulation is largely absent. The regions of your brain involved in logic and rational thought are relatively quiet. The regions involved in emotion and emotional memory are highly active. This creates a state in which emotions can be experienced with unusual intensity and without the modulation of rational thought. You can feel fear in a dream without the reassuring thought that it is only a dream. You can feel sadness without the comforting knowledge that this too shall pass. You can feel joy without the cynical voice that tells you to be careful not to get too attached. This emotional intensity is one of the defining characteristics of dreams. When you wake from a nightmare, you can feel your heart pounding, your skin covered in sweat, your body tense with the residual activation of fear. These are not imaginary responses. They are real physiological responses to the emotional content of the dream. Your body is responding to the dream scenario as if it were real, even though your rational mind knows that the scenario is imaginary. The emotions experienced in dreams are not random. They are intimately connected to the emotional significance of your life circumstances. If you are going through a period of stress or anxiety in your waking life, your dreams are likely to have anxious or stressful content. If you are processing grief or loss, your dreams might involve themes of separation or absence. If you are excited about something in your waking life, your dreams might have joyful or exhilarating content. The emotional tone of your dreams reflects the emotional landscape of your waking life. But the relationship between waking emotions and dream emotions is not simple or direct. Your brain does not simply replay the emotions you experienced during the day. Instead, it processes emotions, explores them, works through them. Dreams might present you with scenarios that provoke emotional responses, allowing you to experience and process emotions in a safe environment. A dream in which you are anxious about something might allow your brain to explore the source of that anxiety, to examine it from different angles, to work through it in ways that would be difficult to do while awake. This is one of the ways in which dreams serve a therapeutic function. They allow you to experience emotions and explore emotional scenarios in a context in which there are no real consequences. You cannot be actually harmed by what happens in a dream. You cannot face real social rejection or real failure or real loss. This safety allows your brain to explore emotional territory that it might avoid in waking life. Consider the phenomenon of nightmares. A nightmare is a dream with intensely negative emotional content. You might dream of being chased, being attacked, being humiliated, failing at something important, or losing someone you love. These are distressing experiences, and it is natural to want to avoid them. Yet nightmares serve an important function. They allow your brain to practice responding to threat and danger. They allow you to experience and work through fears and anxieties in a safe context. This is related to the concept of threat simulation theory, which proposes that dreaming evolved as a mechanism for simulating threatening scenarios and allowing the brain to practice responding to threats. In this view, nightmares are not failures or glitches in the dream system. They are the system working as intended, allowing you to mentally rehearse responses to dangerous or threatening situations. When you wake from a nightmare, you have practiced responding to threat, even though the threat was imaginary. The brain's ability to generate emotional responses to imaginary scenarios is remarkable. It suggests that emotions are not simply reactions to external reality. They are generated by the brain based on its representations of reality, whether those representations are based on actual perception or on imagination and memory. The fact that you can feel real fear in response to an imaginary dream scenario demonstrates that emotions are constructed by the brain, not simply reactions to external events. This has profound implications for understanding emotions in waking life. It suggests that much of what determines your emotional state is not the actual situation you are in, but rather your mental representation of that situation, your interpretation of events, your memories of similar events, your expectations about what might happen, your beliefs about what things mean. All of these shape your emotional responses. This is why two people can have very different emotional reactions to the same situation. They are not just reacting to the situation itself. They are reacting to their mental representation of the situation. Dreams give you a window into this process of emotional construction. In dreams, your brain is generating scenarios and emotional responses to those scenarios without the constraint of actual external reality. You can see, in a sense, the raw process of how your brain generates emotions in response to mental imagery and memory. You can see how emotions arise from the meaning you assign to situations, from the patterns you perceive, from the connections your brain makes between current situations and past experiences. The emotions you experience in dreams are also connected to the process of memory consolidation discussed earlier. As your brain is consolidating memories during REM sleep, it is also processing the emotional significance of those memories. Experiences that were emotionally significant during the day are likely to appear in dreams, often with exaggerated emotional intensity. Your brain is, in a sense, asking itself, what does this experience mean? How does it fit into my understanding of myself and the world? What emotional response does it deserve? This emotional processing during dreams is essential for emotional regulation and psychological health. When you process emotions during dreams, you are integrating them into your emotional knowledge and understanding. You are updating your emotional responses based on new information and new experiences. You are developing emotional flexibility and resilience. Without this emotional processing during dreams, you would have difficulty regulating emotions during waking hours. This is why emotional experiences during dreams can have lasting effects on your waking emotional state. A vivid, emotionally intense dream can affect your mood for hours or even days after you wake. A nightmare might leave you feeling anxious or unsettled. A joyful dream might leave you feeling happy and energized. These lingering emotional effects suggest that dreams are not isolated experiences that have no connection to your waking life. They are integrated into your emotional being, affecting how you feel and how you perceive yourself and the world. The neurotransmitter, symphony, chemistry of the sleeping mind. Your brain is a chemical machine. The vast majority of the communication that happens between neurons occurs through the release and reception of chemical messengers called neurotransmitters. Different neurotransmitters have different effects on neural function and on your experience and behavior. The specific pattern of neurotransmitter activity during different states of consciousness determines the character of that state of consciousness. During REM sleep, the pattern of neurotransmitter activity is radically different from waking consciousness, and this chemical difference underlies the strange, surreal quality of dreams. The most important neurotransmitter for understanding REM sleep is acetylcholine. This neurotransmitter is produced by neurons in a region of the brain called the basal forebrain. During waking hours, acetylcholine is present at moderate levels, supporting attention, learning, and memory formation. But during REM sleep, acetylcholine levels increase dramatically. High levels of acetylcholine promote the generation of visual and emotional imagery. They enhance memory formation. They promote attention to internal mental states rather than external stimuli. This increase in acetylcholine during REM sleep is one of the reasons why dreams are so vivid and visually detailed. The visual cortex, the region of the brain that processes visual information, becomes highly active during REM sleep, and this activity is driven in part by high levels of acetylcholine. Your brain is generating detailed visual imagery without receiving input from your eyes. It is generating these images internally, drawing on memory and imagination. Simultaneously, as acetylcholine increases during REM sleep, other neurotransmitters decrease dramatically. The most important of these is norepinephrine. This neurotransmitter is produced by neurons in a region called the locus coeruleus, located in the brainstem. Norepinephrine is crucial for maintaining logical thought, for evaluating information critically, for maintaining a sense of self and agency in relation to the world. During waking hours, norepinephrine is present at levels that support focused attention and logical thinking, but during REM sleep, norepinephrine levels drop to nearly zero. This dramatic decrease in norepinephrine during REM sleep is crucial to understanding why dreams are so illogical. With norepinephrine levels at near zero, the mechanisms that normally evaluate information critically and assess logical consistency are largely offline. You lose the ability to step back and evaluate whether what is happening makes sense. You lose the internal critic that normally says, "Wait, this is impossible." This is why you can dream of flying, of being in two places at once, of people transforming into other people without questioning any of it. The loss of norepinephrine also affects your sense of self and agency. Normally, norepinephrine helps maintain a clear sense of who you are and your relationship to the world. It supports the experience of being a unified self, with control over your actions. But during REM sleep, with norepinephrine at minimal levels, your sense of self becomes fluid and unstable. You can be yourself and someone else simultaneously. You can observe events as if you are watching them happen to someone else, while simultaneously experiencing them as if they are happening to you. This dissolution of self-boundaries is one of the defining characteristics of dream consciousness. Another crucial neurotransmitter for understanding REM sleep is serotonin. This neurotransmitter is produced by neurons in the raphe nuclei located in the brainstem. Serotonin is involved in mood regulation, in the sense of well-being and contentment, and in the regulation of sleep-wake cycles. During waking hours and during non-REM sleep, serotonin levels are maintained at levels that support mood stability and a sense of self. But during REM sleep, serotonin levels drop dramatically, similar to the drop in norepinephrine. The decrease in serotonin during REM sleep has several important effects. It contributes to the dissolution of self-boundaries. It affects mood regulation, which is why dreams can have such intense emotional content without the modulation of mood that normally occurs during waking hours. The emotional intensity of dreams is partly due to the absence of the stabilizing effects of serotonin. Emotions can swing wildly in dreams, from intense fear to intense joy, in ways that would be unusual during waking hours. The pattern of neurotransmitter changes during REM sleep creates a unique brain state that is optimized for certain kinds of processing. With high acetylcholine, your brain is generating vivid imagery and accessing memories. With low norepinephrine and serotonin, your brain is not constrained by logic, critical evaluation, or a stable sense of self. This combination creates conditions in which your brain can explore associations, make unexpected connections, and recombine elements of memory in novel ways. This is one of the reasons why REM sleep is associated with creativity. The same brain state that generates the illogical narratives of dreams also promotes creative thinking. When you sleep on a problem and wake with a novel solution, you have likely benefited from the creative processing that occurs during REM sleep. Your brain has had the opportunity to explore the problem from new angles, to make unexpected connections, to break free from habitual patterns of thinking. The low norepinephrine that allows you to accept impossible dream scenarios also allows your brain to consider possibilities that would be rejected as illogical during waking hours. Beyond acetylcholine, norepinephrine, and serotonin, other neurotransmitters also play important roles during REM sleep. Dopamine, involved in motivation and reward, shows complex patterns of activity during REM sleep. GABA, an inhibitory neurotransmitter that reduces neural activity, is involved in the muscle paralysis of REM sleep. Glutamate, the primary excitatory neurotransmitter, drives much of the neural activity during REM sleep. The interplay between all these neurotransmitters creates a state of consciousness that is fundamentally different from waking consciousness. It is not that one neurotransmitter is responsible for dreams. Rather, the entire chemical landscape of the brain during REM sleep is different. The specific pattern of neurotransmitter activity creates conditions that are optimized for certain kinds of neural processing and for certain kinds of experience. Understanding the neurochemistry of REM sleep helps explain many of the characteristics of dreams. It explains why dreams are vivid and emotionally intense. It explains why they are illogical and why your sense of self becomes unstable. It explains why dreams can be creative and why they can be disturbing. The chemistry of sleep is the foundation upon which the experience of dreaming is built. Survival instincts reimagined, ancient patterns in modern dreams. Your brain is not a blank slate. It is the product of millions of years of evolution. Your ancestors faced constant threats and challenges. They needed to be able to detect danger quickly, respond to threats, compete for resources, form social bonds, and navigate complex social hierarchies. The brains that were most effective at these tasks were more likely to survive and reproduce, passing their neural architecture to their descendants. Your brain, therefore, carries within it patterns of organization and function that evolved to solve the survival challenges faced by your ancestors. Many of these ancient survival patterns continue to influence your thinking, emotions, and behavior today, even though the threats and challenges you face are often very different from those faced by your ancestors. You might feel a spike of fear when you see a large spider, even though spiders pose no real threat to you. You might feel competitive urges in situations that have nothing to do with actual survival. You might experience social anxiety in situations where rejection would have meant serious consequences for your ancestors, but means relatively little for you today. Dreams are one of the ways in which these ancient survival patterns are expressed and processed. During REM sleep, your brain is not just consolidating memories and processing emotions from your current life. It is also replaying and rehearsing ancient patterns of threat detection, response to danger, social competition, and social bonding. The strange scenarios and intense emotions of dreams often reflect these ancient patterns of survival concern. Consider the common dream of being chased. This is one of the most frequent dreams reported across cultures and across the lifespan. In the dream, you're running from some threat, often something you cannot quite see or understand. You're filled with fear and urgency. You try to run faster, but your legs feel heavy or slow. You try to scream for help, but no sound comes out. This dream scenario activates the ancient threat response system that evolved to help your ancestors survive encounters with predators or hostile humans. During your ancestors' lives, being chased by a predator or an enemy was a real and present danger. The ability to detect threats quickly, to feel fear that motivated rapid response, to rehearse escape strategies, was essential for survival. Your brain evolved to activate a threat response system in these situations, flooding the body with stress hormones, preparing muscles for rapid action, narrowing attention to the threat. This system was highly effective in the environment in which it evolved. But today, the threats you face are usually not physical. You are not being chased by predators or enemies. Instead, you might be facing social threats like rejection or humiliation. You might be facing existential threats like uncertainty about the future or fear of failure. You might be facing health threats like illness or injury. Your ancient threat response system still activates in response to these modern threats, even though the physical response it generates is not actually helpful for dealing with social or existential threats. During dreams, your brain is rehearsing and processing these threat scenarios. The dream of being chased might not be about a literal predator. It might be a symbolic representation of some threat in your waking life, something you are trying to escape from or that is catching up with you. The intense fear you feel in the dream is your ancient threat response system activating, preparing your body to respond to danger. Even though the danger is imaginary, the physiological response is real. This threat rehearsal function of dreams appears to serve an important purpose. By simulating threatening scenarios during sleep, your brain is practicing how to respond to threats. It is keeping your threat detection and threat response systems active and functional. It is exploring different possible responses to threats and evaluating their effectiveness. When you wake from a nightmare, you have, in a sense, practiced responding to threat, which might make you more prepared to respond to actual threats in your waking life. Another ancient survival pattern that appears in dreams is related to social competition and dominance. Many people have dreams in which they are in competition with others, fighting for status or resources. These dreams might involve athletic competition, intellectual competition, social conflict, or physical combat. The emotional tone of these dreams is often intense, with feelings of determination, aggression, or desperation. These dreams likely reflect the ancient human concern with social status and dominance hierarchies. For most of human evolutionary history, humans lived in small groups with relatively stable social hierarchies. Your position in this hierarchy affected your access to resources, your reproductive success, and your survival. The ability to compete effectively for status, to recognize threats to your status, to form alliances that would increase your status, was important for survival and reproduction. Today, humans still care deeply about social status, even though the consequences of low status are far less severe than they were in ancestral environments. You still experience anxiety about your position in social hierarchies, still feel competitive urges, still care about how others perceive you. Dreams involving competition and dominance might reflect your brain's processing of these social concerns, rehearsing social competition, and exploring different strategies for acquiring and maintaining status. Yet another ancient survival pattern that appears in dreams is related to social bonding and attachment. Many dreams involve emotional connections with other people, often people who are important to you. You might dream of being separated from someone you care about, or of being reunited with them. You might dream of forming new social bonds. These dreams reflect the ancient human need for social connection and the anxiety associated with the threat of social separation. For humans, social bonds are essential for survival. An individual human cannot survive alone. We depend on others for protection, for food sharing, for care when we are ill or injured, for raising our children. The ability to form strong social bonds, to care about others, to feel distressed when separated from those we care about, was crucial for survival in ancestral environments. These emotions and motivations persist today, and dreams are one of the ways in which these social concerns are processed and explored. The phenomenon of dreaming about people who have died is also relevant here. Many people report dreaming about deceased loved ones, often in ways that feel emotionally significant. These dreams might reflect the brain's difficulty in fully accepting the loss of someone important, or they might represent the continued emotional significance of the relationship even after the person has died. They might also reflect the ancient human concern with mortality and the meaning of death. Throughout human history, humans have used dreams to make sense of death, to maintain connection with those who have passed away, to understand the spiritual dimensions of life. Even in modern secular societies, dreams about death and the deceased often have spiritual or meaningful significance for people. This suggests that dreams are not just processing current survival concerns, they are also processing the deepest existential concerns of human life, the concerns that have occupied human consciousness throughout our evolutionary history. The creative forge. Why dreams unlock hidden potential creativity is the ability to generate novel ideas, to combine existing elements in new ways, to see connections that others do not see. It is the ability that allows artists to create works of beauty, scientists to make discoveries, engineers to solve problems, and humans in all fields to innovate and improve. Creativity is essential to human progress and to human flourishing. And one of the most reliable ways to enhance creativity is to engage in the kind of thinking that happens during dreams. The reason dreams are so creative is related to the neurochemical state of REM sleep that we discussed earlier. During REM sleep, with high acetylcholine and low norepinephrine and serotonin, your brain is in a state that is optimized for making novel associations and exploring unconventional possibilities. The regions of your brain involved in memory are highly active, allowing you to access a vast repository of information, experiences, and learned patterns. The regions involved in critical evaluation are relatively quiet, allowing these associations to be made without immediate judgment about whether they are practical or realistic. Imagine you are trying to solve a problem. During waking hours, you approach the problem with your habitual patterns of thinking. You use the strategies that have worked for similar problems in the past. You evaluate each idea as it comes to you, rejecting those that seem impractical or unrealistic, This systematic, logical approach is very effective for many kinds of problems. But for problems that require genuine novelty, that require breaking free from habitual patterns of thinking, this approach can be limiting. During REM sleep, your brain can explore the problem space in a different way. Without the constraint of logical evaluation, without the habitual patterns of thinking, your brain can make unexpected associations. It can combine elements from different domains. It can explore possibilities that would be rejected as unrealistic during waking hours. When you wake, you might find that your brain has generated a novel solution, an approach to the problem that you would not have thought of during waking hours. This is why the phenomenon of waking with a solution to a problem you fell asleep thinking about is so common. It is not magic. It is not mystical. It is your brain engaging in a different mode of thinking during sleep, a mode that is optimized for creative exploration. When you sleep on a problem, you are giving your brain the opportunity to process that problem in a way that is impossible during waking hours. Many famous creatives throughout history have recognized the importance of dreams and sleep for creative work. Artists, musicians, scientists, and writers have all reported that their most important ideas came to them in dreams, or came to them after waking from dreams. The chemist Auguste Kekule reportedly dreamed of a snake biting its own tail, and this image helped him understand the structure of benzene, an important discovery in organic chemistry. The musician Paul McCartney reportedly dreamed the melody for the song Yesterday, which became one of the most famous songs in popular music. These are not isolated cases. Studies have shown that sleep, particularly REM sleep, enhances creative problem solving. People who sleep after encountering a difficult problem are more likely to solve that problem than people who stay awake. The longer the REM sleep, the greater the enhancement in creative problem solving. This suggests that REM sleep is not just passively allowing your brain to rest. It is actively engaging in cognitive processes that enhance creative thinking. The mechanism through which REM sleep enhances creativity appears to involve the formation of novel associations between different areas of knowledge and experience. During waking hours, you tend to think about information in the contexts in which you learned it. You think about music in the context of music, mathematics in the context of mathematics, your personal experiences in the context of your personal life. But during REM sleep, these boundaries become more fluid. Your brain is more likely to make connections between information from different domains. This is why REM sleep is particularly valuable for problems that require integrating information from different domains. An engineer working on a problem might benefit from an insight that comes from a completely different field. An artist might be inspired by a scientific principle. A scientist might be inspired by an artistic or musical concept. During REM sleep, your brain is making these kinds of cross-domain connections, bringing together information and ideas that might not normally be associated. The creative potential of dreams is not limited to explicit problem solving. Dreams also enhance creativity by allowing your brain to explore different scenarios and possibilities. In a dream, you can explore different ways of being, different relationships, different approaches to life. You can imagine yourself doing things you have never done, being places you have never been, having experiences you have never had. These imaginative explorations, though they happen in the context of sleep and dreams, can influence how you think and act during waking hours. Some artists deliberately cultivate their dreams as a source of creative inspiration. They keep dream journals, recording their dreams immediately upon waking. They practice lucid dreaming, the ability to become aware that you are dreaming while still in the dream, which allows you to deliberately explore dream scenarios. They use various techniques to enhance dream recall and to encourage vivid dreams. These practices are based on the recognition that dreams are a valuable resource for creative thinking. The creative potential of dreams is also related to the way dreams allow your brain to break free from social and practical constraints. During waking hours, you are constrained by practical considerations, by social norms, by self-criticism. You do not express ideas that might seem foolish. You do not pursue possibilities that might seem impractical. You do not consider options that might seem socially unacceptable. But during dreams, these constraints are loosened. You can explore ideas and possibilities without these inhibitions. This freedom from constraints is valuable not just for solving practical problems, but also for personal growth and self-understanding. By exploring different possibilities in dreams, by imagining yourself in different situations and roles, you are expanding your sense of what is possible. You are challenging the constraints that you normally accept. You are developing psychological flexibility and openness to new experiences. This psychological flexibility is itself a form of creativity, and it is one of the benefits of the dreaming process. Processing pain and joy, emotional alchemy while you sleep. Every person experiences pain and suffering at some point in their life. You experience physical pain from illness or injury. You experience emotional pain from loss, rejection, disappointment, or failure. You experience existential pain from uncertainty about the future, from the awareness of mortality, from the difficulty of finding meaning in life. This pain is a fundamental part of the human experience, and one of the ways your brain processes this pain, works through it, and integrates it into your sense of self is through dreams. Pain and suffering are not things that can be simply forgotten or suppressed. If you try to avoid thinking about painful experiences, if you try to push them away, they do not disappear. Instead, they linger in your mind, affecting your mood, your thoughts, and your behavior. They can lead to anxiety, depression, and psychological distress. The healthy way to process pain is to acknowledge it, to allow yourself to feel it, to understand what it means, and then to integrate it into your sense of self and your understanding of the world. Dreams provide a space in which this processing can happen. During REM sleep, your brain can revisit painful experiences and painful emotions in a relatively safe context. The dream is not the actual experience, so there is no new physical harm. But the emotional processing that happens during the dream is real. Your brain is engaging with the emotional content of the painful experience, exploring it, understanding it, and working through it. This is why people who have experienced trauma often have intense dreams, including nightmares. The brain is working to process the traumatic experience, to integrate it into memory, to understand what it means. The nightmares are not pleasant, but they serve an important function. They are evidence that the brain is actively working on processing the trauma. Over time, as the trauma is processed and integrated, the intensity of the nightmares often decreases. This understanding has led to the development of therapeutic approaches that deliberately use dreams to process trauma. In imagery rehearsal therapy, for example, people who have experienced trauma are taught to deliberately engage with their nightmares during waking hours, to rewrite the nightmares in ways that give them more control and agency, and to rehearse these revised versions of the nightmares before sleep. This allows them to work through the trauma in a more controlled way, gradually reducing the intensity of the nightmares and processing the trauma more effectively. But dreams are not just processing pain. They are also processing joy, happiness, and positive experiences. You might have dreams in which you are experiencing happiness, success, or connection. These positive dreams are also important for your psychological well-being. They allow your brain to consolidate positive experiences, to reinforce positive emotions and positive self-views, to explore possibilities for happiness and fulfillment. The emotional alchemy that happens during dreams involves the transformation of emotional experience. Pain is not just replayed during dreams, it is transformed, integrated, understood. Similarly, joy is not just replayed, it is savored, appreciated, integrated into your sense of what is possible and valuable in life. Dreams allow your emotional system to do work that is essential for emotional health and psychological development. This is why the emotional impact of dreams can persist long after you wake. If you have a vivid, emotionally intense dream, the emotional residue of that dream can affect your mood and your perception throughout the day. A nightmare can leave you feeling anxious or unsettled. A joyful dream can leave you feeling happy and energized. These lingering effects are not illusions or side effects. They are evidence that the emotional processing that happened in the dream has real effects on your emotional state. The relationship between waking emotions and dream emotions is reciprocal. The emotions you experience during the day influence the content and emotional tone of your dreams. But the emotions you process during your dreams also influence your emotional state during the day. Over time, the emotional processing that happens during dreams contributes to your overall emotional regulation and psychological well-being. This is one of the reasons why sleep deprivation has such profound effects on emotional well-being. When you do not sleep, you do not have the opportunity to process emotions during dreams. Your emotional experiences accumulate without being processed and integrated. You become emotionally reactive, less able to regulate your emotions, more prone to anxiety and mood disturbances. Conversely, when you get adequate sleep and adequate REM sleep, your brain has the opportunity to process emotions effectively, which contributes to emotional stability and well-being. The bridge between worlds, dreams as psychological healing. The waking world and the dream world are not separate, isolated realms. They are intimately connected. The experiences you have during the day shape your dreams. The processing that happens during your dreams shapes how you experience the waking world. Dreams are a bridge between these two worlds, a way in which your brain integrates the experiences and emotions of waking life into your deeper sense of self and understanding of the world. When you are going through a difficult time in your waking life, when you are facing stress, loss, or uncertainty, your dreams often reflect this. You might have dreams with anxious or sad content. You might have dreams in which you are struggling with challenges similar to those you face while awake. These dreams are not signs of mental illness or psychological weakness. They are signs that your brain is actively working to process and understand your difficult circumstances. The processing that happens during these dreams is a form of psychological healing. Your brain is not just passively experiencing emotions in response to your circumstances. It is actively working to understand those circumstances, to extract meaning from them, to integrate them into your sense of self and your understanding of the world. This understanding and integration is essential for psychological healing. It allows you to move forward, to grow from your experiences, to develop resilience and wisdom. Dreams can also facilitate healing by providing insight and perspective. During a dream, your brain might present you with a different way of seeing a situation, a different interpretation of events, a different perspective on your own psychology and behavior. When you wake, this insight might help you understand yourself or your circumstances better. It might help you see possibilities for change or growth that you had not considered before. This is why many people find that talking about their dreams or writing about their dreams can be helpful. By reflecting on your dreams, by trying to understand what they mean, you are engaging in a form of self-reflection and self-understanding that can promote psychological growth. You are bringing conscious attention to the processing that your brain is doing during sleep, which can enhance the benefits of that processing. The concept of psychological healing through dreams is not new. Indigenous cultures throughout the world have long recognized the healing potential of dreams. They have incorporated dream interpretation into their healing practices. In traditional Chinese medicine, dreams are considered an important indicator of health and balance, and dream interpretation is part of the diagnostic process. In Western psychology, from Freud onward, dreams have been recognized as a window into the unconscious mind and as a tool for psychological healing. Modern neuroscience is now beginning to understand the mechanisms through which dreams facilitate psychological healing. We know that during REM sleep, the brain is actively processing emotional experiences and memories. We know that this processing involves the consolidation of memories and the integration of new experiences into existing knowledge structures. We know that this processing is essential for emotional regulation and psychological well-being. One of the ways dreams facilitate healing is by helping you process emotions that you might not be able to process effectively during waking hours. During waking hours, you might suppress emotions, avoid thinking about painful experiences, or maintain a surface-level understanding of your circumstances. But during dreams, these defenses are lowered. You can experience and process emotions more fully. You can engage with painful experiences in a more direct way. This more complete emotional processing is what allows healing to occur. Another way dreams facilitate healing is by generating new perspectives and insights. Your brain, operating in the different mode of REM sleep, can make connections and generate ideas that would not occur to you during waking hours. These new perspectives might help you understand your circumstances differently, see possibilities for change, or develop compassion for yourself or others. These insights, though they occur during sleep, can have lasting effects on your waking consciousness and behavior. Dreams can also facilitate healing by allowing you to experience and explore different possibilities for how things could be. In a dream, you can imagine yourself handling a difficult situation with more courage, more wisdom, more effectiveness than you did in reality. You can imagine yourself in a state of healing or wholeness. These imaginative experiences, though they happen in the context of sleep, can influence your beliefs about what is possible and can contribute to actual change in your waking life. The healing potential of dreams is particularly important for people who have experienced trauma or loss. For these people, dreams are not just a pleasant addition to sleep. They are a crucial part of the healing process. The opportunity to process trauma and loss during sleep, to gradually integrate these experiences into a coherent sense of self, is essential for psychological recovery. Without adequate sleep and adequate opportunity for dream processing, recovery from trauma is much more difficult. Consciousness dissolving, the mystery of dream logic. One of the most striking characteristics of dreams is their complete lack of logical consistency. The laws of physics do not apply. Cause and effect do not operate as they do in waking life. Contradictions abound. Things that should be impossible happen routinely, and yet, while you are dreaming, none of this seems strange. You accept the impossible without question. You operate according to dream logic, a logic that is fundamentally different from waking logic. How is this possible? How can your brain, the same brain that can solve complex mathematical problems and navigate the intricate social world during waking hours, completely abandon logic during dreams? The answer lies in understanding how consciousness and logical thought are generated by the brain. Logical thought requires the activity of specific brain regions that are involved in evaluating information, assessing consistency, and making judgments. The prefrontal cortex, a region at the front of the brain, is particularly important for logical thinking. This region allows you to evaluate whether something makes sense, to compare new information to existing knowledge, to identify contradictions and inconsistencies. This region is also involved in maintaining a sense of self and agency, in understanding your own thoughts and intentions. During waking hours, the prefrontal cortex is highly active. It is continuously evaluating your thoughts, your perceptions, and your actions. It is asking questions like, does this make sense? Is this consistent with what I know? What does this mean? How should I respond? This constant evaluation and questioning is what keeps you grounded in reality, what allows you to navigate the world effectively. But during REM sleep, the prefrontal cortex becomes relatively quiet. The regions involved in logical evaluation and self-reflection are not as active as they are during waking hours. Meanwhile, other regions of the brain, particularly those involved in memory, emotion, and visual imagery, become highly active. The result is that your brain is generating vivid imagery and emotional experiences without the constraint of logical evaluation. This dissolution of logical thought during REM sleep is not a failure or a deficiency. It is a feature of the REM state, not a bug. The quieting of logical evaluation allows your brain to make associations and generate ideas that would be rejected as illogical during waking hours. It allows your brain to explore memory and emotion in ways that are not possible when you are constrained by logical thinking. The strange quality of dream logic extends beyond simple illogicality. Dreams often have a kind of symbolic or metaphorical logic that is quite different from literal logic. An object in a dream might represent something entirely different from what it appears to be. A person in a dream might represent an aspect of yourself rather than the actual person. Events in a dream might represent emotional or psychological states rather than literal events. This symbolic dimension of dreams is one of the most interesting aspects of dream consciousness. Your brain is not just generating random imagery, it is generating imagery that is meaningful, that carries symbolic or metaphorical significance. Your brain is expressing psychological content through symbols and metaphors, using the language of imagery and narrative rather than the language of logical thought. Understanding this symbolic dimension of dreams requires moving beyond the idea that dreams are simply products of random neural activity. Dreams are not random. They are meaningful. They carry information about your emotional state, your concerns, your desires, your fears. They express this information through symbols and metaphors rather than through direct statement. But they are communicating something real and significant. The mystery of dream logic points to something profound about consciousness itself. Consciousness is not a single, unified thing. It is not just one mode of operation. The brain can generate different kinds of consciousness, different ways of experiencing reality. Waking consciousness is just one mode. Dream consciousness is another mode. There may be other modes as well, such as the altered states of consciousness that occur during meditation or under the influence of certain drugs. These different modes of consciousness have different characteristics. Waking consciousness is characterized by logical thinking, a stable sense of self, attention to external reality. Dream consciousness is characterized by illogical thinking, a fluid sense of self, attention to internal imagery and emotion. Each mode is optimized for different kinds of processing and different kinds of experience. The dissolution of consciousness that occurs during REM sleep, the way your sense of self becomes unstable and your logical thinking dissolves, is not a loss or a diminishment. It is a transformation, a shift to a different mode of consciousness that is optimized for different kinds of work. The brain does not stop working during REM sleep. It works differently, and the work it does in this different mode of consciousness is essential for your health and well-being. Integration and wisdom, what your dreams teach you. Over the course of a night, you experience multiple cycles of sleep. You move through non-REM sleep, descending into deep sleep, and then back up into REM sleep. This cycle repeats, typically 4 to 6 times in a night. Each REM period is longer and more intense than the one before. By the end of the night, you might be spending an hour or more in REM sleep, experiencing multiple vivid dreams. This cyclical process of sleep and dreams is not random. It follows a biological rhythm that is optimized for consolidating memory and processing experience. Each cycle through non-REM and REM sleep allows your brain to do different kinds of work. Non-REM sleep, particularly deep sleep, is important for physical restoration and for consolidating factual information. REM sleep is important for processing emotions, consolidating procedural learning, and engaging in creative thinking. By the end of a full night of sleep, you have gone through this cycle multiple times. You have had multiple opportunities for memory consolidation, emotional processing, and creative thinking. Your brain has worked through the experiences and emotions of the previous day. It has integrated new information into existing knowledge structures. It has processed emotional significance. It has consolidated memories. It has engaged in creative problem solving. The cumulative effect of this processing is a kind of integration and wisdom that emerges from the night of sleep. When you wake in the morning, you're not the same person you were when you went to bed. You have changed, subtly but significantly. You have integrated new experiences. You have processed emotions. Your understanding of yourself and the world has shifted, even if you do not consciously notice this shift. This is what it means to sleep on a problem. It is not just that your brain rests and you approach the problem with fresh energy in the morning. It is that your brain has actively processed the problem during the night, explored it from multiple angles, made new connections, and generated new insights. When you wake, you might find that the solution is obvious, or that you have a new perspective on the problem, or that your feelings about the problem have changed. Similarly, when you are going through a difficult emotional experience, sleeping on it is not just a way of giving yourself time to feel better. It is a way of allowing your brain to process the emotional experience, to integrate it into your sense of self, to extract meaning and wisdom from it. When you wake, you might find that you feel more at peace with the situation, that you have a clearer understanding of what it means, that you have more compassion for yourself or others involved. The wisdom that emerges from sleep and dreams is not always dramatic or obvious. It is often subtle, a shift in perspective, a slight change in how you feel about something, a new appreciation for something you had taken for granted. But these subtle shifts accumulate over time. Over weeks and months and years, the cumulative effect of this nightly processing and integration is a significant development of wisdom, understanding, and psychological maturity. This is one of the reasons why adequate sleep is so important for psychological health and well-being. Without adequate sleep, you do not have the opportunity to process experiences and emotions, to integrate them, to extract meaning and wisdom from them. Your psychological development stagnates. You remain stuck in reactive patterns, unable to move beyond your initial emotional responses to situations. You lose the perspective that comes from integration and understanding. Conversely, when you prioritize sleep and create the conditions for good sleep and vivid dreams, you are investing in your own psychological development and well-being. You are giving your brain the time and conditions it needs to do the work of integration, understanding, and wisdom building. You are allowing yourself to grow and develop in response to your experiences. The integration that happens during sleep is not limited to current experiences and emotions. It also involves the integration of new information with existing knowledge and beliefs. When you learn something new, whether it is factual information, a new skill, or a new way of understanding yourself or the world, this learning requires integration with existing knowledge structures. This integration happens largely during sleep, particularly during REM sleep. This is why learning often feels like it is happening in layers. You might learn something consciously during the day, but you do not fully understand it or fully incorporate it into your thinking until after you have slept on it. The night of sleep allows your brain to integrate the new information, to connect it to existing knowledge, to understand its implications and significance. When you wake, you have a deeper, more complete understanding of what you learned. The dreams you have during this process of integration can sometimes be instructive. Your brain might be working through the new information or the new experience in the dream, exploring its implications, testing it against existing knowledge, trying to understand what it means. The dream might not directly represent the new information, but it might express through symbols and metaphors the process of integration that is happening. This is why paying attention to your dreams can be valuable for understanding yourself and your psychological development. Your dreams are not just entertainment or noise. They are expressions of the deep work your brain is doing to integrate experience, process emotion, consolidate memory, and develop wisdom. By paying attention to your dreams, by reflecting on them, by trying to understand what they might mean, you are engaging with this integrative process. You are bringing conscious attention to the work your brain is doing in sleep, which can enhance the benefits of that work. Returning to wakefulness. The gift of understanding your inner theater. As morning approaches, the cycles of sleep that have occupied your night gradually come to an end. Your brain begins to shift back toward waking consciousness. The neurochemical state of your brain changes. Norepinephrine levels begin to rise, bringing back the capacity for logical thought. Serotonin levels increase, stabilizing your sense of self. Acetylcholine levels, which were high during REM sleep, begin to decrease. The vivid imagery of dreams begins to fade. Your sense of self, which was fluid and unstable during REM sleep, begins to solidify again. As you wake, the dreams you had during the night begin to dissolve. Most dreams are forgotten within minutes of waking. The dream you were having just moments before waking might be completely gone from memory by the time you are fully awake. This forgetting is not a failure of memory. It is partly due to the neurochemical changes that occur as you wake. The high levels of acetylcholine that support the vivid imagery of dreams are decreasing, and the neurochemical environment that supported the dream is no longer present. Yet sometimes you do remember dreams. The dreams you remember most clearly are usually those that occurred closest to waking, or those that had particularly strong emotional content, or those that you think about immediately upon waking. If you want to remember your dreams, one of the most effective strategies is to think about them immediately upon waking, before you get out of bed and before you become absorbed in the demands of the day. Simply the act of paying attention to your dreams, of reflecting on them, of trying to remember them, enhances your ability to retain them in memory. As you wake and return to the waking world, the work that your brain did during the night during your sleep is now integrated into your consciousness. You do not necessarily remember the dreams explicitly. You do not necessarily remember the processing that happened. But the effects are there. You have consolidated memories. You have processed emotions. You have made new connections. You have generated new insights. You have done the work of psychological integration and growth. This is the gift of understanding your inner theater. When you understand that your dreams are not random or meaningless, when you understand that they are expressions of sophisticated cognitive processes, when you understand that they serve important functions for your health and well-being, you can approach them with appreciation and respect rather than dismissal or confusion. The nocturnal theater in which your mind performs its most elaborate productions is always there every night. It is a space in which you can explore yourself, process your experiences, develop your creativity, work through your emotions, and grow in wisdom and understanding. It is a space that is entirely your own, a private inner world that no one else can access or control. It is a remarkable gift of your brain, one of the most sophisticated and important capabilities you possess. As you lie down each night and close your eyes, you're about to embark on a journey into this inner theater. You're about to experience vivid imagery, intense emotions, strange narratives, and profound processing. You're about to do work that is essential for your health, your growth, and your well-being. You are about to engage with yourself at a level that is not accessible during waking hours. The understanding that you have gained tonight about dreams and sleep and the nocturnal theater of your mind is an invitation to approach your sleep and your dreams with greater awareness and appreciation. It is an invitation to recognize that what happens in your sleep is not trivial or meaningless. It is important, it matters. It shapes who you are and how you experience yourself and the world. When you wake tomorrow morning and the day begins with all its demands and distractions, remember the work that your brain did during the night. Remember that somewhere in the night, you had experiences that you do not consciously remember. Experiences that shaped you and changed you in subtle but significant ways. Remember that your brain, that remarkable organ, is constantly working to help you grow, to help you process experience, to help you develop wisdom and understanding. And when night falls again, and you prepare for sleep, you can do so with the knowledge that you are not simply resting. You are engaging in one of the most important and sophisticated processes that your brain undertakes. You are participating in the eternal human mystery of sleep and dreams, a mystery that has occupied human consciousness since the beginning of consciousness itself. The nocturnal theater is always there, waiting for you each night. The stage is set, the players are ready. The performance is about to begin, and you, the dreamer, are both the author and the audience, the creator and the witness, the one who dreams and the one who is dreamed. This is the gift of your inner theater, the extraordinary capability of your mind to generate worlds of meaning and experience while your body rests in the darkness. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the landscape of dreams and sleep. If this exploration has brought you inner peace and deeper understanding of your own mind, I would deeply appreciate a like and a subscription to the Relaxing Science channel. Your support helps us continue to create content that explores the beautiful intersection of science and contemplation, that invites you to slow down and wonder at the extraordinary processes happening within you. I would also love to know where you are listening from and what time it is there. Please share your location and the time below. Your responses create a global map of our community, connecting us across geography and time zones, reminding us that we are all exploring these mysteries together in our own times and places, in our own nocturnal theaters. As you prepare for sleep tonight, remember that you are about to embark on a remarkable journey. Remember that the dreams you will have are not random or meaningless. They are expressions of your brain's extraordinary capability to process experience, to consolidate memory, to work through emotion, to generate creativity, and to move toward wisdom and understanding. Sleep well, dream vividly, and trust in the remarkable intelligence of your own mind. The nocturnal theater awaits. The curtain is about to rise, and the performance of your inner world, the eternal human drama of consciousness and dreams, is about to begin. End of screenplay. Total.